Imagine a love so pure, so innocent, that it blossoms in the unlikeliest of places, a sprawling estate where the lines between social classes are as rigid as the iron gates that guard the property. Now, picture that same love buried under years of separation, societal expectations, and unspoken regrets, suddenly reignited by a single, fateful encounter. This is not just a story of romance. It's a tale of forbidden love, hidden secrets, and the kind of second chances that life rarely offers. But here's the twist. What if this rekindled romance is not just about two people finding their way back to each other? What if it's the key to unraveling a mystery that has haunted the estate for generations? By the end of this video, you'll discover the truth behind the whispers in the garden, the coded letters hidden in the library, and the shocking revelation that will change everything you thought you knew about love, loyalty, and destiny. Let me ask you something. Have you ever wondered what it would feel like to meet someone from your past who once meant the world to you? Someone who, despite the years and the distance, still holds a piece of your heart. If you're nodding along, then you're already hooked, and trust me, this story is for you. It's for anyone who's ever believed in the power of first love, who's ever questioned whether the past should stay buried, or if it's worth digging up for a chance at a brighter future. This is not just their story, it's yours too. Because deep down, we all have that one person who makes us wonder, what if? Meet Emma, the gardener's daughter, a free spirit with a heart as wild and untamed as the roses she tends to. Her laughter echoes through the estate, a sound so pure it could make even the coldest hearts thaw. And then there's Alexander, the estate heir, a man bound by duty, tradition, and the weight of a legacy he never asked for. As children, they were inseparable, their bond forged in the secret corners of the garden where the world couldn't reach them. But life, as it often does, had other plans. Years passed, and their paths diverged until one summer day when fate decided to intervene. The estate, with its towering mansions and sprawling gardens, is more than just a backdrop to this story. It's a character in its own right. It holds secrets within its walls, secrets that have been carefully guarded for decades. Why did Alexander's family suddenly cut ties with Emma's father all those years ago? What is the real reason behind the locked door in the east wing of the mansion? And why does Emma's presence seem to stir something or someone that was meant to stay hidden? These are the questions that will keep you on the edge of your seat, the kind of questions that demand answers. But here's the thing. This story isn't just about solving a mystery. It's about the choices we make, the people we become, and the lengths we're willing to go for love. It's about the moments that define us, the ones that make us question everything we thought we knew about ourselves and the world around us. And it's about the power of second chances, not just in love, but in life. Because sometimes the past doesn't just come knocking, it barges in, demanding to be heard. As you watch this video, I want you to think about your own life. Think about the people who've left a mark on your heart, the ones who've shaped you in ways you might not even realize. Because this story, as captivating as it is also a mirror. It's a reflection of the choices we all face, the battles we all fight, and the love we all deserve. And by the end of it, you'll walk away with more than just answers. You'll walk away with a renewed sense of hope, a belief that no matter how complicated life gets, there's always a chance to rewrite the story. So, are you ready to dive into a world where love defies boundaries, where secrets lurk in every shadow, and where the past holds the key to the future? Are you ready to uncover the truth behind Emma and Alexander's story? A truth that will leave you breathless and begging for more? Because I promise you this, by the time this video ends, you'll have the answers you've been searching for. But be warned, once you step into this world, there's no turning back. The estate's gates are open and the story is waiting. All you have to do is take the first step. And remember, this is just the beginning. Because as the sun sets over the estate, casting long shadows across the garden, one question remains. What happens when the past and present collide, and the future hangs in the balance? The answer lies ahead, but only if you're brave enough to keep watching. So, don't look away, not now, not when the truth is so close you can almost touch it. The story of Emma and Alexander is about to unfold, and trust me, you won't want to miss a single moment. The estate known as Blackthorn Manor had always been a place of contradictions, a symbol of opulence and power, yet shrouded in an air of melancholy that no amount of sunlight could dispel. For Emma, it was both a playground and a prison. As a child, she had roamed its grounds freely, her bare feet brushing against the dew-kissed grass, her laughter mingling with the rustle of leaves. But even then, she had sensed the undercurrents of something darker, something that lurked beneath the surface of the perfectly manicured hedges and the pristine marble fountains. Her father, the gardener, had always been a man of few words, but his silence spoke volumes. There were nights when she would catch him staring at the mansion, his face etched with a mixture of sorrow and anger, as if he were holding a secret too heavy to bear. She had never asked him about it, partly out of respect and partly out of fear. Some doors, she had learned, were better left unopened. Alexander, on the other hand, had grown up in the shadow of his family's legacy. The Blackthorn name carried with it a weight of expectations that had shaped him into the man he was today, polished, poised, and perpetually guarded. But beneath the surface, there was a restlessness that he could never quite shake. As a child, he had found solace in Emma's company, in the way she saw him not as the heir to the estate, but simply as Alex, the boy who loved climbing trees and chasing fireflies. Their friendship had been his escape, a rare glimpse of freedom in a life otherwise dictated by duty. But that freedom had been short-lived. The day his father discovered them playing together in the garden was the day everything changed. The look of disapproval on his father's face had been enough to send Alexander retreating into the role he was born to play. And just like that, their childhood bond was severed, leaving behind a void that neither of them had ever truly filled. Years later, their paths crossed again, but the estate was no longer the same. The once vibrant gardens had grown wild, the hedges tangled and overgrown, as if nature itself were reclaiming what had been taken from it. The mansion, too, bore the marks of time, its grandeur fading under layers of dust and neglect. It was as if the estate were a living, breathing entity, mourning the loss of something or someone that had once given it life. Emma had returned to Blackthorn Manor after her father's sudden passing, tasked with restoring the gardens to their former glory. It was a job she had accepted reluctantly, her heart heavy with memories she had tried to bury. But nothing could have prepared her for the moment she saw Alexander again. He was no longer the boy she had once known, he was a man now, his features sharper, his demeanor colder. Yet, when their eyes met, it was as if no time had passed at all. The connection was still there, faint but undeniable, like a thread that had somehow survived the years of silence. But their reunion was far from simple. The estate, it seemed, had other plans. Strange things began to happen, whispers in the hallways, shadows that moved when no one was there, and a sense of being watched that neither of them could shake. It was as if the past were reaching out, demanding to be acknowledged. Emma found herself drawn to the east wing of the mansion, to the locked door that had always been off-limits. She had asked Alexander about it, but his evasive answers only fueled her curiosity. What was he hiding? And why did it feel like the key to unraveling the mystery lay behind that door? Meanwhile, Alexander was grappling with his own demons. His father's recent death had left him with more questions than answers, and the discovery of a hidden compartment in the study had only deepened the mystery. Inside, he had found a stack of old letters, their contents cryptic and unsettling. They spoke of a betrayal, a secret so devastating it had the power to destroy everything the Blackthorn family had built. As the days passed, the tension between Emma and Alexander grew, their interactions tinged with a mixture of longing and suspicion. They were drawn to each other, yet held back by the weight of their shared history and the secrets that surrounded them. The estate, with its crumbling walls and overgrown gardens, seemed to mirror their inner turmoil, a silent witness to the unraveling of a story that had been decades in the making. And then there were the others, the housekeeper who had been with the family for as long as anyone could remember, her sharp eyes missing nothing, the groundskeeper who seemed to know more than he let on, and the mysterious figure who had been seen lurking around the estate, their presence as fleeting as a shadow. Each of them held a piece of the puzzle, but putting it together would require more than just courage. It would require confronting the past, no matter how painful the truth might be. The deeper Emma and Alexander delved into the mystery, the more they realized that their childhood bond was just the beginning. The estate's secrets were intertwined with their own, lives in ways they could never have imagined. The letters, the locked door, the whispers, they were all connected, pieces of a story that had been carefully hidden for generations. But uncovering the truth would come at a cost. It would force them to question everything they thought they knew about their families, about each other, and about themselves. And as the pieces of the puzzle began to fall into place, one thing became clear: the past was not done with them yet. In fact, it was just getting started. The question was, were they ready to face it? Or would the weight of the secrets they uncovered prove too much to bear? The answers were closer than they thought, but the journey to find them would test their limits in ways they could never have anticipated. And as the sun set over Blackthorn Manor, casting long shadows across the garden, the stage was set for a revelation that would change everything. But for now, the mystery remained a tantalizing enigma that begged to be solved. The story was far from over, and the best was yet to come. The air in Blackthorn Manor grew heavier with each passing day, as if the estate itself were holding its breath, waiting for the inevitable moment when the past would collide with the present. Emma and Alexander found themselves drawn deeper into the labyrinth of secrets, their every step shadowed by the weight of what they might uncover. The letters Alexander had discovered in the hidden compartment of the study became their compass, each one a cryptic clue that hinted at a betrayal so profound it threatened to unravel the very fabric of the Blackthorn legacy. The more they read, the more they realized that the answers they sought were not just about their families. They were about themselves. The letters spoke of a love affair that had been doomed from the start, a bond that had been torn apart by forces beyond their control. But whose love affair was it? And why had it been buried so deeply, as if the mere mention of it could bring the estate to its knees? Emma's curiosity about the locked door in the east wing became an obsession. She could feel it calling to her, a silent siren that pulled at her every time she passed by. One night, unable to resist any longer, she decided to confront Alexander about it. They met in the library, the room where they had spent so many hours as children, lost in books and dreams. The tension between them was palpable, a mix of unresolved feelings and the unspoken truths that hung in the air. When Emma finally asked him about the door, Alexander's reaction was unexpected. Instead of brushing her off, he hesitated, his eyes filled with a mixture of fear and something else, something that looked almost like guilt. "There are things you don't understand," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. "Things I don't even understand. But if we open that door, there's no going back." His words sent a shiver down Emma's spine, but they only strengthened her resolve. She needed to know what was behind that door, no matter the cost. The next morning, Emma woke to the sound of voices outside her window. Peering through the curtains, she saw Alexander speaking with the groundskeeper, a man named Thomas who had been with the estate for as long as anyone could remember. Their conversation was hushed, their expressions grave. Emma couldn't make out what they were saying, but she caught a few words that made her heart race: the east wing, the key, and the truth. It was enough to confirm her suspicions. Whatever was behind that door, it was more than just a forgotten room. It was a secret that had been carefully guarded, a truth that had the power to change everything. Later that day, she confronted Thomas, hoping to glean some information from him. But the old man was tight-lipped, his eyes avoiding hers as he muttered something about letting sleeping dogs lie. His evasiveness only fueled her determination. If Alexander and Thomas weren't going to tell her the truth, she would find it herself. That night, under the cover of darkness, Emma made her way to the east wing. The hallway was eerily quiet, the only sound the soft creak of the floorboards beneath her feet. When she reached the locked door, she hesitated, her hand hovering over the handle. For a moment, she considered turning back, but then she remembered Alexander's words: "If we open that door, there's no going back." Taking a deep breath, she inserted the key she had found hidden in her father's old toolbox. The lock clicked and the door swung open with a groan that echoed through the empty hallway. What she found inside took her breath away. The room was filled with old photographs, letters, and trinkets, each one a piece of a puzzle that had been carefully preserved. But it was the portrait on the wall that stopped her in her tracks. It was a painting of a young woman who looked strikingly like her eyes filled with a sadness that seemed to reach across the decades. Beneath the portrait was a name. Eleanor Blackthorne. As Emma stood there, trying to make sense of what she was seeing, she heard footsteps behind her. Turning around, she saw Alexander standing in the doorway, his face pale. "I told you not to open that door," he said, his voice trembling. "But now that you have, there's something you need to know." He stepped into the room, his eyes never leaving hers. "Eleanor Blackthorne was my great-grandmother. But she was also your great-grandmother." The words hit Emma like a thunderclap, leaving her stunned and speechless. How could that be? What did it mean? Before she could ask, Alexander continued, his voice heavy with emotion. "Our families were never supposed to be separated. There was a plan, a pact that was made to keep us together. But something went wrong and the truth was buried. Now it's up to us to uncover it before it's too late." The revelation was a turning point, a moment that changed everything. Emma and Alexander were no longer just two people rekindling a childhood romance. They were the key to a mystery that had been decades in the making. The stakes were higher than ever and the clock was ticking. But as they stood there in that room, surrounded by the ghosts of the past, they realized that the truth was more dangerous than they had ever imagined. Someone didn't want them to uncover it. Someone who had been watching them all along. The figure they had seen lurking around the estate was no mere shadow. It was a threat, a reminder that the past was not just something to be uncovered, it was something to be survived. And as the first rays of dawn broke through the windows, casting long shadows across the room, Emma and Alexander knew that their journey was far from over. The truth was within their grasp, but so was the danger. And in the end, only one thing was certain: nothing would ever be the same again. The discovery of Eleanor Blackthorne's portrait and the shocking revelation of their shared ancestry left Emma and Alexander reeling, but there was no time to process the enormity of what they had uncovered. The estate, once a place of quiet beauty, now felt like a ticking time bomb, its walls closing in as the past and present collided with terrifying force. The figure who had been lurking in the shadows was no longer content to watch from afar. Strange occurrences began to escalate. A vase shattered in the middle of the night. Footsteps echoed in empty hallways, and the locked door in the east wing was found ajar the morning after Emma had opened it. It was as if the estate itself were alive, reacting to their intrusion with a mixture of anger and desperation. But Emma and Alexander knew better. This wasn't the work of some supernatural force. It was the hand of someone very much alive, someone who would stop at nothing to keep the truth buried. Determined to uncover the full story, Emma and Alexander began piecing together the fragments of the past. The letters, the photographs, and the trinkets in the East Wing room told a tale of love, betrayal, and a promise that had been broken. Eleanor Blackthorne, it turned out, had fallen in love with a man far below her station, a gardener named Samuel, Emma's great-grandfather. Their love had been forbidden, but they had defied the odds, secretly marrying and vowing to build a life together. However, Eleanor's family, desperate to maintain their status, had intervened. Samuel was forced to leave the estate, and Eleanor was told he had abandoned her. Heartbroken and betrayed, she had taken her own life, leaving behind a daughter, Emma's grandmother, who had been raised in ignorance of her true parentage. The Blackthorne family, consumed by guilt and shame, had buried the truth, locking it away in the East Wing and severing all ties with Samuel's descendants. But the pact they had made to keep the secret had come at a cost, and the estate had been cursed by the weight of their lies ever since. As Emma and Alexander delved deeper, they realized that the figure haunting the estate was none other than Thomas, the groundskeeper. He had been the one tasked with guarding the secret, a duty passed down through generations of his family. But Thomas had grown weary of the lies, and his conscience had begun to unravel. He had been the one leaving clues for Emma and Alexander, hoping they would uncover the truth and break the cycle of secrecy that had plagued both families for decades. However, his actions had also drawn the attention of someone else, a distant relative of the Blackthorne family, who stood to lose everything if the truth came to light. This person, whose identity remained shrouded in mystery, had been manipulating events from the shadows, determined to protect the family's legacy at any cost. The climax came on a stormy night, the kind where the wind howled like a wounded animal and the rain lashed against the windows with unrelenting fury. Emma and Alexander, armed with the knowledge of their shared history, confronted Thomas in the East Wing. The old man, his face etched with guilt and regret, confessed everything. But before they could decide what to do next, the mysterious figure emerged from the shadows, a woman named Victoria, a cousin of Alexander's who had always been envious of his position as the estate's heir. She had known about the secret for years and had been using it to manipulate the family, ensuring her own rise to power. But now, with the truth on the verge of being exposed, she was desperate. In a fit of rage, she revealed her final card, a will that named her as the sole heir to the Blackthorne fortune, a document she had forged to secure her future. The confrontation that followed was tense, each word a dagger that cut through the stormy silence. But just as it seemed Victoria would succeed in silencing them forever, Emma made a startling discovery. Among the trinkets in the East Wing room was a locket, one that had belonged to Eleanor. Inside was a letter, written in her hand, that revealed the existence of a second will, one that had been hidden away, and named Samuel's descendants as the true heirs to the estate. The letter also contained a heartfelt plea for forgiveness, a message from beyond the grave that brought tears to Emma's eyes. With this final piece of the puzzle, Victoria's scheme unraveled. Realizing she had been defeated, she fled into the storm, leaving Emma, Alexander, and Thomas to pick up the pieces. In the days that followed, the estate began to heal. The truth, though painful, had set them free, and the weight of the past no longer hung over them like a dark cloud. Emma and Alexander, now bound not just by love but by a shared history, decided to honor Eleanor and Samuel's legacy by restoring Blackthorne Manor to its former glory. The gardens, once wild and overgrown, were brought back to life, their vibrant colors a testament to the resilience of love. The East Wing, no longer a place of secrets, was open to the public as a museum, a tribute to the lives that had been shaped by the estate's tumultuous history. And as for Thomas, he found peace in knowing that his duty was finally complete, his conscience clear for the first time in decades. But the story didn't end there. In a final twist, Emma discovered one last letter hidden in the locket, a message from Eleanor that spoke of a treasure buried somewhere on the estate, a gift meant for her descendants. The search for the treasure became a new chapter in their lives, a symbol of hope and the promise of a brighter future. As Emma and Alexander stood together in the garden, the sun breaking through the clouds, they realized that their journey had been about more than just uncovering the past. It had been about finding themselves, about learning that love, no matter how complicated, was worth fighting for. And as they looked out over the estate, now alive with the sounds of laughter and new beginnings, they knew that their story was just the beginning of a legacy that would endure for generations to come. The past had been laid to rest, but the future was theirs to shape, a future filled with love, hope, and the promise of endless possibilities.